Good morning, all. I'm coming to you on this beautiful Wednesday morning. I thought I would do this outside since there's not many of these days left. But I'm coming to you on this Wednesday morning after our general presidential election. And we still don't know the results this morning. We are in this period of uncertainty and maybe a little chaos as we wait for the next 24 to 72 hours to unfold. And as we do, of course, you're listening to the news and watching all that's going on, but it reminded me that this just isn't that unusual in life, is it? We often go through periods of transition, periods of uncertainty, periods where we're looking forward to what's next. And all we want to do is get through them. And this happens all the time. It can happen in a personal life. Right now, my wife and I are getting very tired of being in a house that we own, but really isn't home anymore, waiting to move into our new home. And we just want to move past this season in life. And this happens all the time. It happens in our work, where we want to go from one job or one task to the next. It can happen with our kids, where we just want to get past this season into one that we think will be a little bit more normal. This whole season of the coronavirus has been one long thing of waiting to get back to normal. And every time we think that's going to happen, it doesn't. It can even happen with the church like ours, where there's been a period of transition and a lot of things just seem to be on hold and they're uncertain. And we just want to move into the next thing. And what can happen in the midst of all this is we can get anxious, we can start pushing, we can withdraw. There's all kinds of ways to respond. But I think as we look at what's next for our church and for ourselves, there are three things that I want to recommend that you do that I want to practice in my own life, and I want to invite you in. The first one is simply this. When things are uncertain, we don't know what's going to happen, we need to really lean into this idea that Jesus is certain and to be trusted. And this is not a passive thing. This is not just kind of I'm just going to wait and see what happens next. And, Jesus has it under control. There's something very active and deep about this. We sang on Sunday a version of the song, It Is Well With My Soul, a song written in the 1870s by Horatio Stafford. And a lot of you have heard the story, but he wrote the song in very difficult circumstances. He lived in Chicago. They had their 4-year-old son die of scarlet fever, and it was very traumatic. And so he thought it would be good to send his wife and his 4 daughters to England on a vacation. He was going to complete some business and then follow them along. And on the trip over, the boat had a collision, sank, and 200 people, including all 4 of his daughters, died. Only his wife was saved. And when she got to England, she just sent them this telegram saying, "Saved alone, what do I do?" And so, of course, he immediately jumps in the boat. He goes over to England, and the captain knew what was going on. So when they really went by the exact spot where the ship had sunk and his daughters had died, the captain called him up, and he said, in that moment, there were words of comfort that filled his soul, and he penned those words, "It is well with my soul." Not because the circumstances were good, not because of what he didn't know was coming next, but in spite of those things. Lean into Jesus. He is certain even when life is uncertain. He knows the future even when we don't. That's number one. Number two, I would encourage you to pray. And this sounds very cliche and very Christian, but this is hard work. This is leaning into, this is doing the hard work of saying, okay, God, what's up? It's pleading for what we want, and it's pleading for what He wants. We're going through this whole study on Sundays on the kingdom of God, and it's to ask for His kingdom to come. That's an active, ongoing, leaning in, trying to seek out Jesus and do that. And then number three, engage. Ask God this simple question, what's next? And then do what He puts in front of you. We don't want to be passive as we wait, or are we in the middle of uncertainty? We want to move into what God has for us. We get into problems when we get our priorities mixed up, because often we see uncertainty, it gets us very worried, so we jump in to do whatever we can do, and then when what we're doing doesn't work, then at the last resort we go to God and we ask Him to help us. Instead, I want to invite you into this process for us as we look as a church at what's next to do this together. So I invite you, know that God has a plan. He's had a plan for the last 2 years. He's working no matter what you see in the circumstances around you, no matter what's happening. God's got something going. I am confident of it. I'm excited about it in the midst of uncertainty. So pray along with me. I'm committing to you that I'm praying regularly for our church, for our community, to seek God, what are you doing and what do you want? I encourage you to do that too. Do it for our church. Do it for your neighbors. Do it for the people around you. And then number three, let's lean into it. Let's ask God what's next and then do it. We know some of the things that are coming, they're small things, but they should be fun. We have a Christmas service coming up. We're going to be doing a celebration service around the annual meeting next year. We're going to be doing some training and starting some new life groups in the new year. We're going to have a new member class coming up. But in addition to that, we really want to say and seek God for what's next. So, will you join me in that? And that way, no matter what, the uncertainty, the chaos, not knowing what's going to happen, God's got it, and it's good. So I look forward to sharing that with you. Have a great week. We'll see you on Sunday.